much trouble that way.
Probably make it
Okay.
8.
It is 6 o'clock on Monday, February 8th, 2016, and I'd like to call the regular board meeting to session. I'd like to call it to order, sorry. Roll call, please.
Kay Levy,
Here.
Jack Cadenhead.
Here.
Amy Cole-Closure.
Here.
Claudia Willis.
Here.
Mickey Upton.
Here.
Item number 3, and after I read this, I would like for us all to stand, if you don't mind. Observation of a moment of silence in honor of Dr. Audie Woodard, Superintendent of Seminole Public Schools, 1980 through 1991, and in honor of Liz Gunter, Seminole classroom teacher, 1968 through 1998. You may be seated. Item 4, consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at board meetings will be approved by one vote unless any member wishes to consider an item separately. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following items. A, minutes of the January 11th, 2016 regular meeting, minutes of the January 22nd, 2016 special meeting, minutes of the January 27th, 2016 special meeting, and minutes of the February 4th, 2016 special meeting. B, financial reports, activity accounts. 2, treasurer's report. C, encumbrances and changes as follows. 1, general fund fiscal year 16. 2, child nutrition fund fiscal year 16. 3, building fund fiscal year 16. D, 1, fundraisers. E, resignations. F, contracts with Bacchus and Payne.
Madam President?
Go ahead.
Yes.
I would ask that we pull out item A with respect to the minutes of the January 27, 2016 special meeting.
Okay.
Additionally, with regard to item F1, I would ask that we make our approval of the contract subject to the amendments prepared by our counsel, Andy Fugate of Center for Education Law.
Would we like to discuss item F separately, or is that just subject to those amendments?
I have
I had spoken with Bruce, but I spoke with David today, and Andy had, when I talked to him when he started this review, I said he'd worked with you guys before.
Yes.
So those are kind of some standard amendments that are done. So,
I've already altered the agreement and sent it back to Andy for approval.
okay. Okay.
wonderful.
If we, let's see. Okay, so far I had hold on one second. I actually had a question which I may be able to ask at a different time in the meeting, but I would like to pull it out. I just have a question for you, if I could. But is that
That's
okay?
fine.
Can we
Oh,
just do it all in one? Okay. Then let's pull out, let's vote, okay. Do we have a motion for the second, third, and fourth minutes?
I'll make a
And-
motion, we approve the January 11th minutes
Okay.
and the February 4th minutes.
Separately?
Yeah, I wasn't present for January 22nd.
Okay,
But Mickey wasn't present for February 4th.
that's right.
So we probably need to just do the minutes individually.
Let's do that. Or you can abstain from, well, that's true.
Do you want to
Okay.
withdraw your motion?
Well, Mickey wasn't present for the January 11th or the February 4th meetings.
Or any of them.
Okay.
Why don't we pull out this, we just vote on the first, well, you weren't present at the first one, right? No?
I
Okay.
was.
We
Only
really
Mickey
aren't
was
this
absent.
lost in our
I
mind.
only made a motion to approve the minutes from the meetings on
Okay.
January 11th and February 4th,
Okay,
where Mickey was the only one absent.
okay, okay.
I'll second that.
And, okay, yes. Roll call, please.
Kay Levy?
Yes.
Pat Cadenhead?
Yes.
And Nicole Closer?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
Mickey Upton?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Do I have another motion? Can we talk, do you want to go ahead and make a motion for the rest of it with the exception of F?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 22nd special meeting.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mickey Upton?
Abstain?
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
And Nicole Closer?
Yes.
Pat Cadenhead?
Abstain.
Kay Levy?
Yes.
I make a motion we approve items B through E of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
So questions? So I have some questions about the finance report. Should I ask them now? You think I should ask them later?
Sure,
No.
now's good.
So we had a QZAB payment that shows up. I thought that was over. Okay.
The bond, of course, that was before my time, but those QZAD bonds were something that the district was involved with, and it's over a period of time. I don't think, that's different from your sinking fund.
Right.
So, it's fourth or fifth?
Did we approve 27? I didn't think so. That's right, we don't have to.
Of the QZAB bond money that we received,
Right.
There are
we're
minutes.
making payments on that
Okay,
through
well.
2018.
Okay, so they said it was the 8th payment, so we've got,
Two more,
oh,
17, 18.
that's kind of good. Okay. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
The expenditure, I think is $21,000 for the pizza. Are you going to talk about that in your admin report? Okay.
Some nice pizza.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve.
And Nicole Closer?
Yes.
Pat Cadenhead?
Yes.
Kay Levy?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
Mickey Upton?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about item F before we make a... Yes. And, well, I was going to we have minutes for January 27th. It was a special meeting that didn't happen due to lack of quorum. We did draw up minutes for it, but I guess they're not really necessary. That's...
Well, there's no
Is it
minutes.
necessary? Yeah, that we don't
There's
really
no
have minutes
meeting.
for, we just have it for the record. For the record, we didn't have a special meeting, so we do not need to vote on that. So as far as the contract, my question was, do we normally, I guess we vote on the completion date that was filled in there? Is that still to be determined, or it still said fall of 2018? My question was, is that just an estimated date, or, I mean, that's filled in on our draft. Is that still on there? And was that based on a certain election, a bond election date, or was it just a guesstimate, sort of?
It is.
or- Okay.
It's just a date to put in there because our goal would be to finish the construction by that date so we
Okay.
can move into the new facilities.
Okay. So if everything falls into place, that is the date that we were shooting for, that, or
That's correct.
before even? Okay. Okay. And my other question was, and this will come up later, maybe I could have asked this later, but since it does pertain to the contract, since we are talking construction managers later in the agenda, and I didn't know, when we interviewed all the different architectural firms, we asked several people, and I think it might have been Mickey's question, whether they negotiated on fees sometimes, and I was wondering if if that's something to be discussed. I mean, not that you'd have to make a decision on it, but I thought that sometimes when construction managers are part of the building, the construction team with architects, I didn't know if sometimes the fees were negotiable, sometimes, or flexible, I don't know, or not. I mean, I just wasn't sure, and I figured they needed to be.
Well, of course, in the good old USA, all things are negotiable, aren't they?
That is true, that is true, but some of this can take place after the contract can be signed. Is that what?
Well, our fee is stated in the contract.
Yes,
as
6%.
Yes,
Right.
6% of the construction cost. and
Okay.
that's our fee for this project.
So that's with or without a construction manager? Okay, that's really what I needed to clarify. Okay, thank you, I should have worded that better. But anyway, okay, that's what I needed to confirm. Okay, then do we have a motion to approve
So moved.
item?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Vicki Upton.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Cole Frazier.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes. Okay, item 5, introduction of guests and public discussion by those who requested audience.
I didn't have any, I didn't see any but
I
any
didn't
requests
look up
back
there.
there. So,
Did anyone request? Nope, okay. Well, thank you for coming anyway. All right. Item 6, Architects Bacchus and Payne presentation to include cost estimates for options 1, 2, and 3 presented in January meeting. Bruce and David,
you're up.
your turn.
Okay.
I have 2 right here, but I actually brought mine, so if I...
This is different.
Oh, it is different. Oh, no, no, we have enough. I wasn't counting the one in my hand.
Okay, thank you for asking us back tonight to talk about the budget. And before we jump in there, I have a couple of things to address. The city has received the flood study, which included an area, as we all know, that's down the hill right here. And what we've learned from that flood study, and I think the city manager's here to back me up if he needs to, is that area, pardon me, the area that we see where we have shown in the Conversation Starter 1, or CS1 as we call it, we show the competition field house. That area and below that is not going to be available for any building construction. That does not particularly deter us from talking about the cost estimates on this, because we know that adjacent to this campus, there are other pieces of property that the school board may own that we could locate that facility or a performing arts center and still keep the main high school on this campus. So, for the sake of discussion, let's go forward and talk about the budget estimate we show in this sheet. And we're going to find some similarities between these three. And as we go through this, you'll see the bold number is we prepared a rough order of magnitude of cost, kind of a low to high range, because we have a lot of questions we need answered before we can get more particular. You also will see below that a soft cost number, and then a final project number. And the soft cost is the cost of everything from architectural and engineering fees to geotechnical testing to surveys to furniture, fixtures, equipment. That's why that number is quite a large number. There may be an opportunity, and it may be a necessity, I don't know, but a lot of the equipment the school's using now that we know was moved up the street may be relocated back into the facility, which will have a huge impact on this number. Also, during the course of the design, we'll take inventory of the equipment in the existing commercial kitchen, and there may be items in there that will also be reusable that'll have an impact of savings on this number. So, as we look at these numbers, of course we have a high and low, but we have a lot of information we're having to kind of just put our arms around to get started. The second thing is, I'll address before we go through these, and I know everybody's looking at them, which is great, is that for us to prepare a RFQ for a construction manager, we will need, and on the agenda, I think it's a couple of items later, we talk about that. Was that on there, Bill?
Yes.
We'll need kind of a range of cost for the project, and we can use the construction cost, not the soft cost, but we'll need that range to be approved to put in that letter to request qualifications from construction managers. So as we build that, I know we're all anxious to take those next steps, but we need an approved budget to go forward with. And we will also have a small scope of work when we prepare that RFQ. Okay? So, as we look at the budget on these three, we're calling conversation starters, you'll see that there are similarities among these. And if we want to just pick any one, we can go through, obviously, the cost of the demolition, the low and high range, that is, in each case, is leaving the three-story core of the existing high school and removing the north and south wings. The new construction cost is the new construction of the classrooms, restrooms, admin, stairwells, band, art, all the things that make up the educational portion of the construction proper. The existing construction renovation is a cost that we've attributed to renovating the three-story portion of the structure. And renovation means that it's going to look basically brand new on the outside, which will be new caulking and windows and brick veneer, and probably taking off and repairing the original location of the roof and taking off the green roof. So from the outside, it'll look like 1929, but on the inside, that budget includes all new mechanical systems, electrical systems, new finishes, even new interior walls and doors, where we want to take out some of the smaller classrooms and make those appropriate sized classrooms. So that on the interior, with the exception of the ceiling heights, because of the limitation of floor to floor, is going to have the appearance of a brand new building on the inside. Technology, IT, every bit of it. The next number, the site development cost, the low and high, those are estimates for developing this site above the football field to build the new high school and those other, the music, art, classrooms, you can see what that's based on there. So that's a low and high range once again, because once we have a civil engineer involved and we know how we're going to have to deal with the runoff and detention and the regrading and all the things that will have to take place with that site, that's that range of cost for that. And as you study down through the numbers, you can see how we've added the totals together in this one. The first page, you see we have a freestanding gym as a phase. And we felt it important to go ahead and show phases for these projects based on what we think the ability of the district to fund the projects is. The second page is similar, with the exception that instead of making a field house or gym a second phase, we've made a performing arts center a second phase and included a gym schematically only in the square footage with the education building. And in the third one, we've shown everything shown up on top of the hill. But once again, you can see that we can make the gymnasium in that scheme a second phase. So the numbers are relatively similar. And this is a short time to digest this. We've been working on this for a while.
Yes.
So, I believe we had 28 classrooms in our existing structure. Do you know how many classrooms there would be in these, are these very similar numbers?
Yes, 29 classrooms, excuse me one second.
Plus the specialty classrooms.
So very similar number of classrooms, but larger in size.
That is correct. That is correct. As an example, let's pick one here. We have 29 classrooms total. That's counting a new music room, band room, an art room, computer classroom, even a separate choral classroom, 29 classrooms. And
Is that, so 29 for each of these choices?
each one of those have basically the same count of classrooms, same rough area for toilet facilities, storage, circulation, janitor.
And these are measured out for, what was it, 520? Is that what,
Yes.
Yeah,
550.
Approximately.
550, we said,
550 students?
yes.
Would you mind repeating what you said at the beginning about if, with the news of the flood survey, it changes it, and does it just move phase 2 possibly somewhere else? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
And you said it would greatly influence the cost? Is that what I?
It would not greatly.
It would not greatly.
Right,
That's
not
what I was
greatly
trying to hear.
influence the cost.
Okay, would not greatly.
There's a little bit of by having any phase separated from the original project and then a freestanding facility, we're going to pay more of a premium for that because that freestanding facility has to have every bit of its own restroom facility, circulation, everything that is associated with that.
Okay, stays consistent.
And that's why if we put everything together, even if it's phased, it's a little bit cheaper. For example, if we put it up on the hill, in the third example, well, the gym is there, but we get to share some of the facilities like the bathroom count, pre-function area, some of those other things we can share with the rest of the school.
So option 1 and 2, option 1 has a basketball gym in our existing practice field.
Yes,
That's not going to work, right? That's what
that
you're
is
saying.
correct. Will
Then
not
option
work.
2 has a performing arts center in our practice field. That's not going to work there either, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
And obviously, when we first presented that, we didn't know the extent of the flood areas down there below.
it's pretty low.
But instead of just throwing a whole new sheet at you, we thought, okay, let's just consider that those are freestanding facilities somewhere else on another piece of property that the school board may own now. And is that,
Okay.
Right.
north of the middle school or
Right.
wherever that might be.
On the auditorium, it's got 800 seats, and I think that was a little bit more than what the original is. Was that kind of, I mean, the more the better. I mean, I like it having more, but is that kind of based on our field trip or talking to other schools or? Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, okay. It's based,
just a number at this point.
Okay.
We didn't have a final answer on exactly how big we wanted it. And so we picked one that was closer to what our experience would say you needed rather than what the Miller Road design had in it.
Okay.
So we put fewer seats in there than one of the earlier designs had in it.
Well, and I'm hopeful that, I know next week, you're going to meet with focus groups,
Yeah.
and I'm hopeful they'll give you some input because
Right.
Absolutely.
on what they'd like to see there, because I know we've got people who use the auditorium that would give you a good idea how many seats that they would like to see.
Drama teacher, band director,
Dance
choir
teacher.
director.
So where's that going to be held at? Is it, has that been decided yet?
I believe, Mr.
Do what?
Walden?
Where's that focus group meeting going to be held at?
At the high school. Up there.
Over there?
Yeah.
Is there some way to put this up on a wall
Sure.
so people can, you guys have that capability?
Yes, oh yeah, we will be prepared.
Is there some way to put that up on the wall so everyone can see? Because
Yes, sir.
Just so everyone knows, we were asked to respond to a questionnaire by the architects, and they asked us all kinds of things, like what would you want the auditorium to look like, and how many offices would you need in your high school office. And not speaking for the others, I know that a number, probably over half of my answers were, you need to talk to the people that will be occupying these spaces. This is when you need to find out, especially things regarding the auditorium, the type of storage, the type of lighting and sound and all of that.
Dressing rooms.
I don't purport to have any knowledge or information about that sort of thing, or where storage should go, or what type of storage is needed. And so, I mean, all kinds of questions that it's great that you all are asking those questions and they're going to need to be answered. I just think that you'll get some of those answers during the focus groups, and I think you'll get even more of those answers from the specific subject areas.
We're very hopeful of that.
Yes.
Yes.
And you might have to get them to dream a little bit. I know, for example, that band room that we saw that had the tile floor laid out like they could practice marching in there.
Football.
Like a football field, yeah.
Stripes on the
Yeah.
Great.
floor.
It was green with white stripes.
The green, yeah, and it was even
That was
green and
neat.
white. She said she should have told them to do it in school
Right.
colors. She just said on the football field, so. And the storage rooms that were just amazing. They were also able to double as practice rooms, and the storage gave great sound insulation. Just all kinds of great thoughts that if you're someone that will occupy that type of space and you're not sure you can come up with that information, there will be places that you can go and see great ones to get those things flowing.
And the teachers at those schools, especially Blanchard, were
Yes.
thrilled to tell us how they were able to take part in the design of their own classrooms, which was pretty, I don't know how much that'll,
They were very helpful.
they were thrilled to pieces.
And what they would do differently.
And what they would do differently. That was probably the most important thing we came away with, was like hindsight information. It was really, really eye-opening and very clever, the things they had thought of. I have a question for you, David. On the last page, the VOAG building is out just past the existing practice field. Is that part of Phase 1? Because there's not a little box around it.
Oh, it would be a part of Phase 1, but we just, in our breakdown of classrooms, we list that as part of the total square footage.
Okay,
Even though it
got it.
stands alone.
Okay.
So I'm looking at option 3 because 1 and 2 have got a water problem. So I'm looking at option 3 here that has almost everything all together. The bottom number here, shouldn't that be a total of the ones above it? Shouldn't it be the highest number that it is?
It should be, and
It's getting lower, and that's pretty
Yeah.
nice.
I got to tell you, Jace helped me put this together, and we were
Okay.
scrambling this afternoon.
Well,
to get
no,
it
I
done.
understand.
I just cannot.
Sure.
I apologize for that.
The first box is just doing it all at once, and that's that bottom of the cost. And then the second two boxes that are together, that's if you're doing it in phases. And so
Okay.
you've got
Phase 1 and
that
Phase
17 number at the bottom of the second box, and then plus the 4 for the total of 22 on the bottom.
Okay, so everything in the high school option, Phase 1, is 17 million to 27 million, depending on a big, wide.
Right.
Correct.
If you phase
And then
it.
That's
the
for
gymnasium
Phase-
add-on is $3 to $5 million, depending
Correct.
upon
Correct.
a lot of things. What is the purpose of the existing three-story structure here in these?
In each of these cases, the area, the floor area available in that structure is, the first floor is repurposed as admin, counseling, the front door to the high school, essentially. And the second and third floors are renovated into classroom space, so they're actually included in our gross calculation for classroom count and area.
Okay. And then, so, I know I missed the meeting, unfortunately, I was out, but you talked about floor to ceiling height and about getting a new heat and air system. So how do you get the heat and air from this new space into the old?
Well, in this case,
It's higher
with building
ceilings.
on the north and south side, to
Right.
capture as much height in the classrooms on each side of the hallway as we can, we may drop the ceiling down a little bit lower in the corridor and then come through the sidewalls of those north and south classrooms and raise that ceiling up as high as we can in those classrooms.
Okay, so there will be central heat and air in the existing old
Absolutely,
structure as well.
brand new.
And that's the reason that we're having to knock these down, is to get it in there.
Well, that's part of the reason we're knocking them down.
So do you still think it's cheaper? What was the other reasons?
Well, we don't think it's good economy to spend $3 or $5 million to renovate the gym and the, structurally to renovate the gym and the auditorium
Okay,
to make it structurally sound to begin with, and then the other dollars to renovate the rest of those two wings.
okay,
We're going to always be compromised on ceiling height because we cannot raise the ceiling and we still have to put new mechanical systems in there.
True.
We're always going to be compromised on toilet and classroom accessibility because of the grade changes in the building. We're going to be compromised on toilet count alone by modern codes because we're going to have to rob classroom space or other space just to get the sizes we need now. And we're going to be compromised on classroom count because we're robbing some classrooms just to make accessibility in for ramps, toilets, that sort of thing.
okay.
We've got a big, long list. I didn't bring it with me.
It makes sense to me. I'm glad he asked the question so you could answer it.
So what can we do to, so you've got some time, you got a time in here, which she made a note of. What can we do to increase this timeline? Is there anything that we as a group can, I mean, it'd be nice to be a la carte where we could say this, this, and this. I know maybe that's not possible, but what can we do to lower the price and increase and make the timeline faster?
Well,
Or is there anything at all?
there is. We have, obviously with the information we have, we painted it with a pretty broad brush. Just look at our low to high.
Right?
The more detail we can put down on paper, including down to the classroom sizes, as Amy talked about the fantastic band room, well, do we need 1,500 to 1,800 square feet for a band room? Those are decisions that you guys will have to help us make.
Okay.
And the more detail we get, the tighter we can get with our square footage needs, classroom counts, all those things, we can make this budget more realistic. And to shorten the timeline, the quicker those decisions can be made, the quicker we can get into the drawings.
Okay.
Part of this we'll let Mr. Fisher address here in a little bit is the capacity of funding the project. And, if we know we can fund an auditorium and the educational space with the beginning, then let's jump in that. And we can, in a few years, fund a competition gym, for example. And, they're great questions, and sorry, I keep deferring back to
That's
you.
okay. That's I understand.
You're fine.
So when we start, we're going to listen to Mr. Fisher about the, how much, how those prices our community is limited, or how much room we have for our bond package, our bond proposal. But for the RFQs, would you say estimate high or low? You said you wanted to base that on the soft, what did you say,
On the construction cost.
just on the construction, on new construction cost, right?
Correct. Because that's the number
New
the
con-
contractors will be interested in.
Okay, so when you estimate on the, maybe the high end of new, it doesn't matter, that's up
No,
to
I'm
us.
Renovated,
Pardon me?
new and renovated.
New and been renovated.
Okay, both construction
And
costs.
we're going to be okay with giving them a range, but we want to
Okay.
make sure that it's a real.
accurate, or
Yes, a
as
real range.
close,
So
okay.
it's 14 to 21.
Yes.
Is that what I'm looking at? So total construction cost, low to high range is 14 million to 21 million.
That's for phase one, that's if you're.
That is the high school and gets us into the high school. The gym would come later, which is 3 to 5.
Are you on number 3?
I'll
Yes,
just-
That's
sir.
on the third phase, yeah.
I'd like to throw out there and just give some feedback from
first.
Thursday. When it comes to classroom size, the regular classroom size, like your core classrooms, I like what I saw at Blanchard.
did
That was a
too.
new school, and I thought that was a good size, and their computer labs, and also like their family and consumer science classroom. And Colin had a little deal,
Right, we got all this.
getting measurements, and
Standard classroom was 25 by 30, and then their computer classrooms were bigger than that.
and then their family and consumer science and their music programs. I thought those were, their gym is kind of a different story for me, but their classroom portion, I thought that those were good sizes.
Yes, sir.
I thought their family and consumer science was a good size. I didn't really understand how the kitchen area was set up, but it may have been set up that way deliberately. But I would think that either like a kitchen designer or Kelly Johnson would be able to know just how she wanted things to go.
And I like their media center too. Now,
The
I like.
media center was
Yeah,
wonderful.
it had all this natural
Yes,
light
the
that
media
just
center.
poured in, and
Oh,
they
it was
had.
very good.
It was, yeah, they had a lot of light, and they had these really wide hallways, which we kept talking about, was like, those are really nice, but do they cut into the square footage of, the total, and the total cost of this building? But at the end of each hallway, where the exit doors were, it was glass all the way around that, so light just streamed in.
And
It was nice.
I will throw this out there too. I remember when we went to Noble, and I felt like the hallways were so much narrower
they
than they were
were.
at Blanchard, but they actually weren't. And the reason was, because this is another thing I was talking to Colin about, is
felt like
because the light that building is built the light brings in, so you actually feel like they're much wider.
They were the
than-
same size?
Just about.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think they were a little bit narrower, but they were within like a foot of each other.
right.
And the building materials made a difference too. Blanchard's building material felt much less institutional. It didn't have the noticeable concrete block walls, and the colors were nice. That was my favorite stuff that I saw the other day. Lots of good things about all the schools we saw, but anyway.
So on the first two, you've got the kitchen on the north side, but on this last one, number 3, you've got the kitchen down here below, right next to the gym. Did you do that on purpose?
Well, of course, these are really preliminary.
Okay, sure.
But in that third one, we thought that siting the auditorium back close to where its current home is made some sense, which is at the north end of the,
Okay.
it's a familiar location. We anticipate in that location, it gets its own entry, it has its own identity, it's used by the community other than just the school. There's parking on at least 2 sides of it, 3 sides of it really, right there already existing adjacent to it. It made sense in that scheme to sort of site the auditorium there.
Well, let me throw this in, and this is just like for the middle school, because we'll share that. But if there's somewhere we can put the cafeteria / commons area on the north side, then it sure makes it easier for those middle school kids crossing the road, where they're not having to cross the road over here and travel all the way down to basically where they do now.
And even if we put it in that scheme, if we put it in there where the music and art is, where we put it in the center, it's still considerably closer.
Right.
But a commons area in that location gives you a wonderful view back to the west and out over the football field. We have so many opportunities
Right.
to explore
Okay.
on this site with the grade change and the ability to design the space. And
But this is still, I think maybe all these kitchens are the same, or like I said, a lot of things are left open, but we're still having 2 lunchrooms, 2 lunch times, probably.
You're
think
probably
gonna
going to
have
have
2 to 3
to,
no matter.
because everywhere we went, I mean, even Blanchard, they had two lunch periods. I mean, when you've got 400 or 500 kids, it's not feasible to have a commons area that's big enough to accommodate 500 kids for, 1 hour a day.
Right.
So everywhere we went, they had at least 2 lunch periods.
So you think maybe 300 in the kitchen and then 300 again later on or something along those lines?
Right.
Maybe more even.
Well, I think Blanchard was the largest school we went to, and they're pretty close to our size, 530, something like that, wasn't it, Bruce?
Yeah, they're comparable.
Yeah.
I think they drummed it, no, Noble has drummed it.
Yeah.
550.
Noble's larger, and, yeah, their enrollment's
Blanchard
larger.
was like 537 or
Yeah, they were-
something like that.
They and Newcastle were in the 500s. They were bigger than us. But
Well, of course,
Not by a lot.
if you look at the size, obviously Noble's bigger because they're 5A in football, so they're a larger classification because of numbers.
I'm loving the conversation, and that's why we call them conversation starters, and find out what's really important. And so this is great, and we hope we get a lot of this next week. It seems like across the board, getting the cafeteria closer where the middle school kids can access it easier is really, really important, and we hear that loud and clear. We'll work on that. And one of the options is where the auditorium's on the north side is sliding the auditorium to the east and putting the commons area on the northeast, and northwest, and the auditorium on the northeast. So they're like just moving pieces right now in big chunks. And as long as we know what's important, we can design to that. And getting your feedback is just critical. So thank you.
on the other hand, though, it's like with two of the schools we went to, I believe, having the commons area serve dual purposes. Commons area for the gymnasium as well as cafeteria. The cost saving there is important to consider. So
You could actually take this number 3 here and take it and flip it like that and put the kitchen at the top and the auditorium here at the south end, the gym goes up there. If you do that, then your kitchen connects to your gymnasium, which provides for chili night
Concession, yeah.
or whatever, pizza night. I don't know. So, we went to the meeting and we had a meeting about construction with the state board. We all attended, and the one really big thing that I got out of that is construction is really 2 things. It is a numbers crunching, very logical thing, but it is also a vision and a dream. So I think it's important that all of you make some contribution about what your vision and your dream is going forward. Whether it's how it looks or what it feels like to walk into it or whatever, it's important that we not only crunch numbers, but we need to think about what we want this to look like. You're going to be sitting in the stands at the football game, and you're going to see this in the background. It's important that you think about what it might look like and how it appears to you. So that emotional part of it, they said, was just as important as the logical numbers.
Thank you. Have we covered everything? Does anyone else, do we have any other questions, or?
Do you have an electronic version of this?
We will send that after I correct that bottom number.
I think it's right.
It may be.
These phases, when you have your focus groups next week, I'd be really interested to hear the focus group input on what they would like to see in the phases or the total product, what they would like to see,
Okay.
how that is structured.
I know for me, I would prefer not to phase it, but some people might disagree. Some people might look at it and say that's the best way to go. I don't know.
That's where the focus group input would be very helpful, I think.
The main thing you're going to have to concentrate on here, is one place that you can't phase in, and that's going to have to be the cafeteria. I mean,
Right.
because in any of these, we're going to end up taking down our current cafeteria. So that means we're going to be busing kids to another cafeteria for a year and a half to 2 years. So,
And we heard that other schools did that, and
Yeah.
at times, when they ran into some construction issues, they were postponed a couple of years, which was not planned for.
2
But
extra years of sack lunches in the gym.
yes.
I mean, they're.
And they handled it, and they still had smiles
They
on their
made it work, they
faces.
said.
But it was worth it. That school was pretty, really, was that?
It's
Noble.
Noble.
Oh, no, yeah, that was Noble.
And I'm glad Mr. Bacchus asked too,
Yeah.
who their construction
Yeah,
manager was.
we've got some inside information on that, so, but those are things, I mean, that's why it's so important to take the time to talk to other schools and see what went right, what went wrong, what they would have done better, and so, anyway, I'm glad you all suggested that, and those were good schools to look at, I think. They were the right size for us, and covered everything. We even saw a building that was renovated, and got to even stomp through the really old, falling down. That was kind of fun, actually. The third floor. And so, anyway, the unrestored part. But anyway, I appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
We may have some more questions here in a bit, but, okay, thank you. All right. Okay, on to item number 7. Ron Fisher, Stephen H. McDonald and Associates, presentation of possible options to finance options 1, 2, and 3.
This information is going to be real similar to the architects from the standpoint that it's just a starting point. There are a lot of decisions that need to be made, and once those are made, then we'll fine tune. If you take one and pass it down, please. That's okay.
there's an extra.
What I did right now is just made some general projections. And like I said, it's really just to kind of get us started and get us something to think about. The information I handed out, the first couple of pages deals with your net assessed valuation and the growth over, I think, the past 26 years. And to get a more accurate view, I added Pleasant Grove Inn as if it had been part of the district for the entire time. And that way it gives us a better idea of your projected growth and how, what we might look at going forward. And the last couple of years, you've had some really large growth, so I discounted it. I don't like when you have strange growth. When you grow 21% in a year, I'm not going to figure that in. So instead of using your 5-year average of 7.8% growth, I use 2.5%, which if you look back at the 5 years before the last two, I think that'd be a pretty good estimate. So that's what we did going forward, was just use the 2.5% growth in your net assessed valuation. The way we structure our financings, we issue multiple series of bonds, but we issue them on real short maturities. So you're never really close to your bonding capacity. And this, if you look at the third page back, it says Schedule 2.17. And really this would represent a 10% increase in taxes compared to what you paid last year, which is the last year your general obligation bonds were on the tax roll. Obviously it would have dropped down a lot this year, and there's information comparing that as well, but I thought 10% would be a good starting point, just kind of a round number. So we used a target millage rate, which would be 23.85 mils. And like I said, what we're doing is issuing a series of bonds, and there's really only one series of bonds on the tax rolls at a time. Bonds go on the tax rolls, they're on there for a year, then they're paid off, and you're issuing another bond that will go on our tax rolls and replace it. And it keeps your millage throughout the life right around that 23.85. And that way you don't see a lot of ups and downs on your taxes. So if you have more growth than what we expect, if you continue for whatever reason to have that phenomenal growth, that millage rate will drop. I used a little bit higher interest rate than what we're seeing right now on the bonds, and then I crept it up, for the first several issues, and then just kind of plateaued it out. Because if the interest rate's going up that much, then your valuation will be going up more than what we project. So that would be about a 10% tax increase compared to last year. And again, obviously, compared to this year, it's going to be much higher because your sinking fund dropped to 0, and the city of Seminole's dropped from 378 to 0.05. So now the total millage rate is a lot less than it was last year across the board. The second scenario I looked at, which would be Schedule 3.17, would be a 20% tax increase compared to last year. In this one, the issues are a little bit bigger, but even then, it looks like you'd have about 2 issues counting against your capacity at any one time, even though there's only 1 on the tax rolls. It would be about 3.2 million compared to your gross capacity of 4.7. So you've still got, $1.5 million in capacity. We don't want to tighten these down so much that if you have a hiccup, if there's a change in state law like 766, which came in and just artificially lowered a lot of people's valuation, we don't want you to get into a situation where you can't make the payments, because then that's an issue. Now, if you turn to the very last page, I think this is the one that may give you more information. If we do, it's basically a 15-year financing with 16 series of bonds. So the last payment would be in 2031. And we use that 10% projected tax increase, which would be a millage rate of 23.86. That's going to generate about $16.3 million for projects. And my assumptions here are that the first series of GEO bonds would be issued in December, and that the lease revenue bonds would be funded in February. And that gives us, excuse me, the opportunity to vote in any of the 3 remaining election dates, and these numbers would still be accurate. If you chose to vote in August, we'd move it all forward. So instead of December, we'd date the bonds October, and the revenue bonds possibly in December. Because what happens, before we can issue the revenue bonds, we have to get the first series of GEO bonds before the Attorney General's office so he can opine on them. Because part of his process, he reviews everything that goes into the election, make sure we're open meeting law, the publications, all that type of stuff is done correctly. And since the revenue bonds rely on your future issuances of GEO bonds, the people that buy the revenue bonds want to make sure that all that was legal. And that's why it takes a little bit longer than just a straight up GEO bond. If we did the 20% tax increase using the other same total maturity length and so forth, you're looking at somewhere around 22.7 million for projects. And that line that looks straight, it's not. If we drop that millage to 29 mils and it looks like it'd be right around 20 million, it's going to be something a little bit more or a little bit less. The one thing I figured out is that line is never straight because that's too easy. It's got to go up and down. It looks more like a sine wave. But this gives you at least a ballpark. And if you wanted to use, if you think, because you know your district much better than I do, if you think that growth is going to be sustained, not at maybe the 7% level, but closer to 3 or 3.5, we can adjust the projections to reflect that. And really, the main thing we need to know is how much you need for your projects, when it's going to be funded. Most of the architects have told us that the construction cost inflation goes up between 8 and 12% a year, average. It may be different now just because the economy's, just crazy right now. But it's one of those, if you've got cost figures today, but you're not going to get your money for 6 months, add 6% to your cost figures. And I think from asking architects right now, there's flexibility in this to you may still be okay using these numbers, even if we do it, like I said, issue the GEO bonds in December and the revenue bonds in February. The handout I gave you, are there any questions on this type of stuff first before I start talking about the election day?
Ron, I have one. Okay, if we do this, does that max us out?
No.
Okay, how much of a cushion will that leave us?
On the if we do the 20%, you're going to have about $1.5 million in capacity still remaining each year.
Okay.
Because like I said, what happens is you issue bonds, you have one that goes on the tax rolls, then you sell a series, but it doesn't go on the tax rolls for another year. So at most, you only have 2 issues outstanding against you at any one time. Like I said, even on the higher tax increase, you're only around 3 million, or 3.2, I think, and your valuation's 4.7.
Okay.
So you've still got plenty of money in case you have an emergent situation. If you have more growth than what we projected and you want to come in and do like Blanchard and do like Newcastle, they voted multiple revenue bond financings and they just overlay them. Newcastle was fortunate because they had the power plant come in. And we knew about it in advance, and we could structure it to where they kept the taxes pretty level because suddenly you had that huge taxpayer coming in, and it bore the brunt of it. Blanchard, everybody liked what they had, and they wanted to keep it going, so they kept approving the bond issues. But like I said, we do not want you to get into a bind as far as your capacity.
Well, but if our valuation continues to grow, then that cushion gets larger, right?
Correct, and the millage rate drops.
Okay.
You said the 20% has 1.5 capacity, so the smaller percentage has even more than.
Correct. The smaller one, 2.2. So, it's got about 2.5.
Yeah. Right. Just subtract that from your 4.7, that gives you cushion.
Right.
And the reason, there are 2 reasons we do these on short maturities. The interest rate on the individual bond issues is lower, and it keeps your millage rate level. If you do these, if you did a series of 5-year bonds, the millage rate between year 1 and year 5 drops. And it may go from 23 mils down to 18 mils. And then you come back up and bump it back up to 23. And you keep doing that, so you got kind of a stair-step effect, and people's taxes go up and down and up and down. And people get frustrated because they never know what their taxes are going to be. The other problem you have with the longer maturity is when you're talking about your sinking fund, more of it's being used for interest. I know most of you were there at the presentation Wednesday. I had to give it again, or I guess it was Friday. I had to give it again Wednesday to COSA, and I actually added some schedules showing, the difference. And it was about $800,000 if you were doing $2 million a year versus $8 million on a 5-year. So it was pretty significant. And like I said, part of it's because your millage just naturally drops because you're paying interest on principal that you're retiring. And just people, if their money's going to be hung up for 5 years, they want to earn more than if it's going to be hung up for 2. So and that's just, finance.
What interest rate were you estimating this on?
I think on the first series of GEO bonds, I think it was either a 1.5% or a 2%. And right now, which we always have to caveat anything we say, this is not a guarantee on any future issue. But issues we've been selling, 3-year bonds have been averaging around 120 or below. And again, not a guarantee. That means when we sell bonds, Wednesday, it may be much more than that.
Yeah.
We can give you historical information. We just can't give you any, future type of stuff. So, as far as election dates, because this is a even-numbered year when we have our general elections, the legislature has taken away May, July, September, October, and December. So we have 3 remaining dates: June, which is your primary; August, which is the runoff primary; and November, which is the general. And of those, I would think, if you're going to try for one of those, the August date would probably be the best, just because you may be on there by yourself and people can focus on the school, not on a politician they don't like. The filing deadline for that August election date is June 8th, because it's a 70-day or 75-day filing period because it's a statewide race. So deadline's coming up a lot faster than you might think. It's already first week of February. So, any questions on any of that? Like I said, don't get tied up on the numbers, because this is just me throwing something against the wall to see, if it, would be helpful. Give you an idea of which way to go. But again, we can change maturity length, we can do other things, to try to make it more palatable or money. It just kind of depends on the projects at this point, which ones you want to do immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Item number 8, consider and take necessary action to define and schedule focus group meetings for discussion of school facilities planning in accordance with instructions from the district's architects. We have chosen February 18th, and I didn't put this on. Was this your item?
I put it on there. And there was some, I know Mickey had brought up maybe adjusting the times a little bit.
Yeah, I did.
We already had done that, yeah. We'd already changed them to 5:30.
Yeah, I made the adjustments. I talked to David and Bruce about some of the timelines. I've talked to our principals to make sure we can get our students there. I did make an adjustment on the parents. I had it from 5 to 6:20, but now it's from 5:30 to 6:50, which when I talked to Bruce and David, they both kind of recommended that we get close to an hour and a half for each focus group. So I made that adjustments, and I've indicated to you there, as far as the students, I pretty much use the student council officers and representatives. That way every grade is represented there. Administration, of course, it's all the principals there. Teachers, at least one from each department. There may be some where there may be 2. And I've asked the board to give me a list of 3 parents and also 3 people from within the community, business and industry included in that. As of right now, I've gotten everybody. Now, Mickey, I haven't got yours yet. Nope. But I don't have any duplicates.
Oh, good.
I mean, I had one, but there was an alternate, so I moved that one in. So I think that's going to fill in just right there. And I'm talking as far as parents and within the community too.
Excuse me,
So-
Mr. Weldon, I submitted names of teachers. Did anyone else submit names of teachers?
Some did, some didn't. Some submitted, because originally that's what we'd asked for. And then, we kind of got sidetracked on that, and I felt like if we get one, it's kind of what Bruce and I and Dave, we've talked about even tonight, is to let everybody be involved in some part of it. And if we just get select teachers, then every department's not represented. So
What do you mean the department?
Well, in other words, your music department, maybe your science department, your math department, your career tech classes, FFA and
Still limited out at 15?
Yeah, 15 to 20. I think we can get everybody in there, at least one per program in there.
So I chose students too. I chose all Native American students. I didn't choose anyone else that wasn't. So.
Administration, it's just principals, so like Coach Snyder, the athletic director?
Coach Snyder,
Okay.
Mr. Wade, Mr. Osborne, those will be the primary ones.
Are we going to post this on our website as well?
Yes.
And it starts like 12:30 for students?
12:30 we're trying to get it for the students. We try to get it because we've got some students that go to concurrent in the morning, some in the afternoon. So this is the best time where we can get all of our students who are available at that time. It's right after lunch. So that's the best time. The teachers, obviously, there's no way we could get all the teachers to be able to participate during school, so they do the 3:30 to 4:50 slot.
Okay.
So
Parents at 5:30 to 6:50 and business members, community 7 to 8:20.
Right.
And so, and I guess those, you are going to put together the list, you're compiling those names and you're going to contact people?
I've got the list, and I've got most of the contact information. I don't think
Perfect.
any will be hard to contact.
No, I don't think so. Well, I'll help.
Put together packets for each person.
Okay.
That's going to be involved in the focus group, so they can try to have those to you by the end of the week.
Get them to them ahead of time.
And
Okay.
to look over it and begin thinking about
Okay.
what best use our time.
That's what we've designed so far, so if you, we're still in the planning stages of that, but we need to get serious about it pretty quick.
I'll get it to you tonight.
Okay.
So for the records, yeah, February 18th, and that'll be posted online. Did you have a question, Amy? Nope.
I don't think any action's necessary.
No, we just needed to, we're just letting everyone know. Okay, item number 9, discuss and take possible action on the point of contact for Bacchus and Payne and Ron Fisher. My suggestion would be our superintendent, and if maybe I don't know if a board member needs to be part of that, or you would.
I thought Mr. Lemmings possibly.
My suggestion, just with all that's going on, and whether there's a need for a special meeting, would be a board member that could make sure all the information got to board members and administrators just as quickly as it was received. I think that would be helpful, to have a conduit that could send that out just as quickly as possible. And I think that's the key, is just making sure everything gets passed on to where we're all kind of aware of everything at the same time. I think that would be very helpful.
That's typically what, Mr. Weldon.
Big board.
I was going to say, you send things out to us right away too, but did you
Yes.
are you suggesting a board member and Mr. Weldon, or just a board member?
Well, I would just think, to keep it simple, I'd probably suggest a board member as the point of contact, but that person could send everything on as well. I mean, Mr. Weldon could clearly be in the loop for that sort of thing. Also, Ed Lemmings could be in the loop.
I personally think it should be our superintendent as the point of contact for our architect group.
Well, I would make a motion that Jack Cadenhead be our point of contact.
And you just, because I'm about to be president, or
Yes.
mainly? Okay.
And because you're good at getting things right out.
Oh, yeah, I'm-
Send emails, you call me and tell me to check my email when I receive emails on things. And I think that would be good for the sake of continuity and just making sure that we get everything out very quickly.
And would you work closely, you would obviously work closely in hand with our superintendent
Yes.
immediately?
I think mostly yeah.
Would be,
Wouldn't be-
okay.
Discussion. I think if a board member is part of it, but I think our superintendent should be the point of contact.
We've typically done that in the past.
That's what I've known for years.
So I live via email. I mean, I do that a lot, and you guys know, that's how I work. And so the fastest way I can get an email to me is the way I want to do it.
Well, I think our superintendent can do that.
We've got emails immediately this morning, right after.
And it's nothing against Jack. I just think it should be
I don't have a problem with being
our
two.
superintendent as our point of contact.
As far as from our side, we'd be glad to send everything to all 6 of you every time. We would just not want responses unfiltered from all 6 of you coming back to us, because then we'd go, which way do we go? It needs to, coming back toward us, it needs to be through one person, if that makes sense.
That does.
And how is that normally done for you when you work for schools, the point of
Typically not
contact?
with the school board.
That's been my experience. It's been with the administration.
But
Either that, or they have an appointed group that, like in Oklahoma City, they had the MAPS committee. and
Right.
So they had their rules, and we went through them, but for most smaller districts, it's through the superintendent.
Thank you.
you wouldn't have an objection to it being a board member.
No, it's your pleasure.
So if our superintendent was our point of contact, and then you still would send the emails to all of us, that way the superintendent isn't having to worry about us all getting the same information at the same time in a timely basis. I mean, is that how that would work?
That's how that would work.
Okay.
But
That's
we
what I
just
would
don't want
prefer.
That reply all
Right,
starting to happen.
because of
Where we don't.
open meetings, right.
Yeah, we don't do that either. So I'll second that,
Second what?
her motion.
For Jack to be point of contact?
I'll do it, I'm fine with it.
And where does that put our superintendent?
So you can still send everyone as you would before.
So you won't, so if you sent everybody, all 6 of us, well, Marcy instead of me next time, you would just get the reply back. Whoever the point of contact is would be replying back to you all to represent us as a board.
That's what we would ask.
So what kind of decisions do we have that we need to make that would need to be, I mean, it's just communication at this point, right?
It's really just, from what it sounds like, it's just kind of sharing information from the architect with the board.
But if,
Moving forward, there's a lot of decisions in terms of which designs accepted, budgets, timelines, that, so they'll be, I mean, the communication will be early and often.
and it might require input from other individuals, like within the district and things like that.
Right. I think it.
Or board action.
Personally, I think it could have a big burden on Jack when we get further into the process and there's more things riding on the conclusions, more, just needing more feedback.
That's
Well,
my
I'm fine with that, but,
concern.
I mean, what you're saying, like decisions about like budget and stuff, those will have to be made in an open meeting by vote of the board, so nothing like that will be, that kind of feedback won't be going on.
Well, I'm still in favor of it being with our superintendent, unless you choose to amend your motion to make it superintendent and and Jack. I'm not comfortable with it not just being our superintendent is the main person, but I'll be happy if there's not any more discussion, I can call for a vote. Anybody have anything else to say?
I'm happy to do it.
Roll call, please.
Amy Cole-Closure,
Yes.
Matt Cadenhead,
Yes.
Nikki Upton,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
No.
Kay Levy.
No. Item 10, discuss and take possible action on the scope of the high school project and costs to be included in the RFQs for a construction manager. Okay, your suggestion was to go with, now there are 3, if we're going to base this on the total construction cost of like a phase 1, possibly, that's what we talked about?
We didn't look at Mr. Fisher's numbers, so I was trying to.
Would
make
you like,
comparison.
do we have an extra copy for them? That would be good. Sorry, I didn't notice that. So you're talking about that, the total construction cost, right? That's highlighted, I mean, that's in bold?
Yes.
Okay, so that figure on the phase 1, that ranged from, on conversation starter 1, that ranged from 14.7 million to 21.3 million. The second plan was 16.2 million to 23.5. And the last one is a little confusing because we did it all together or broken into 2, so what would you
I
suggest?
look at the lower
The lower one, which was the...
14.7 to 21.
Okay, 14.7 to 21. So that's pretty comparable to the first one. That's right there. So that's the same exact figure, actually. Well, yes. So, what are you all comfortable with? I know you're asking us what we're comfortable with.
I need to understand if this is going to be a total project, total project, distinguishing between a project cost and a construction cost.
The figures I have are the gross monies available for the project.
Project.
So all
As a
the
whole.
fees, all the construction costs have to come out of it.
Right.
Smart board.
All the chairs.
We have
right,
smart boards,
any
we
of
have
that
chairs.
stuff. Anything that you're going to spend on the project needs to come out of that.
So it's a project cost, not a construction.
Right.
So we need to take, so if it looks like our maximum is 22 million, we need to back out approximately 25% of that and say that's what our construction cost is.
And the rest of these are furnishings, fixtures, equipment, that type of stuff.
And
Usually, this is maybe a dumb question, but construction managers, I mean, in your experience, when they look at a project, like a project that you've created and designed, do their cost estimates, are they typically lower than what you estimate? Or
That's a good question.
about the same, or?
well, because we've given such a big window here, that we're going to be in the same ballpark.
Okay.
But typically, our experience with them is that, like when we do our first cost estimate on very preliminary information, they're going to have a huge contingency in it, like huge. And as we get more information, that number's going to drift up a little bit, but the contingency is going to go down as we get more information. So historically, the construction managers that we really enjoy working with, that number, because of the contingency, it doesn't ever change very much. So the ones that are skilled at doing it know the emotional side of things, know kind of like your tax going up and down, that doesn't feel good to anybody, so they understand how to keep it kind of the ship steady. Did that answer your
Yeah.
It does, yes.
That makes
yes.
sense. So you said back out like 25%? Is that what you said, 20? That's the soft cost of
Well, in terms of a
to get more of a instead of a project, a construction?
yes,
Okay,
what we'd be
okay.
what we'd be advertising into the construction managers on how much we'd have available for construction.
And then if you have things, if you're wanting to do like technology or something, testing and things like that, you have to pull that figure out there too, which I don't know, they'll figure in some in the soft cost, but if you have something in mind, like a big testing center or something like that, that's going to be more technology intensive than just a normal classroom or something like that, that's something you might want to think about. And like I said, this, you guys may not think it's something in the back of somebody's mind you need to.
Right. Well, wouldn't you possibly estimate the higher end of that, just to give you some wiggle room? And, I mean, this is just an idea for him anyway, on the RFQ. But I know we need to work towards getting a real figure for you all as a budget. But right here, it looks like the upper end is 21 on the first and third plan, 21.3 million.
I would just, well, and, I mean, I was just looking, if you got, if the higher figure that Mr. Fisher gave is 22.7, and we're gonna come back 25% off of that is about 17.1 million, and that falls about right in the middle of that
Okay.
14 and 21.
17, yeah, that's pretty much in the middle.
Roundabout.
17 what? What did you say?
17.1.
Let me ask this, if we were to use
Little on the higher end.
Yeah.
this phase 1 of Conversation Starter 3 for the language on the RFQs, and then after that was sent out and after we were to bring in a construction manager, it turned out that our community was more in favor, prior to resolution time, to not phasing and to going ahead, and we're getting good feedback that we'd rather just press on. You think that's something that whichever construction manager would be fine with?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is just kind of an initial starting point for the dialogue with the construction manager?
That's it.
Okay. It's not a commitment to the path, it's just kind of a good faith effort to tell them where we are right now.
Right, and making sure that those that respond would have a lot of experience in this range.
Excellent.
So that number will cut out some that aren't experienced in this big of a project. So,
That
and
maybe
that's
just have
what-
had $25,000 projects or things of that nature.
Correct. To get the right people responding.
Great.
And you all will be working up the RFQs for us and contacting?
We have a good start already.
Good,
And
all
so will
right.
we, so if we, the action we take tonight, that will be what you need to actually send out the RFQ, so we won't,
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's going to literally say estimated project. That's all.
Okay, good. So, would you like to make a motion or think about it? Estimated budget?
Do you have a preferred list of people you want to send it to? Because there's pages of them.
I mean,
I don't know, Bruce, if,
And we will give you our preferred list.
Okay.
You can add to it.
I kind of,
That'd be a good
I kind of
starting
like
point,
whatever
yeah.
it is they come up with.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
I agree. That works for me.
You have 3 or 5 or something that you're gonna,
You know, there's a qualified list. And in our contract, we have to reference to the state qualified list.
right.
Okay,
So the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow is contact DCS and get their qualified list of construction managers.
Right.
I've got the list.
You do, first thing I'm going to do tomorrow is email the superintendent and get that list.
So
There you
if
go.
we, I mean, I said 17 million, but like 20 million? I mean,
I mean, how locked in, I mean,
For our purposes,
it's just for RFQs right now.
that's.
So really, we're not deciding on a final budget or anything. Okay, I don't think it really, I would, 17 to 20 kind of gets somebody in the right range. I have never been in any remodeling project that ever got less expensive. You know, it's always more expensive. So,
That's why that's
Yeah.
very important.
and I just prepare myself for that. So anyway, I don't have a problem with 20 million, but that's up to you all. Any suggestions, Mickey? I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, that seems to be somewhere in the middle. 17,664, whatever it was, is pretty much in the middle of 14 and 21. So that would be fine if you, does it, an even number, does it matter?
No. We're going to
No,
just say
you're gonna have a-
approximately $17 million project, or 18. We don't, I don't even want to give a range, really, we don't have to give a range.
Okay.
Then I would be fine saying approximately $20 million, knowing that that's going to be a level that will help us identify construction managers that can handle projects of that size.
Because it will
That's
get,
not a commitment that we're going to spend that much money or borrow that much money. It's just,
and if we're talking phase 1 only, phase 2 with that addition would be more money than that anyway, so, okay. Would you like to make a motion?
I would say for the purpose of the RFQs, that we will preliminarily identify this as a $20 million project. Using the items listed in Conversation Starter 3, Phase 1. Was that the format you were,
Do we
does that
need,
have in it what you need?
Yes.
Content?
I'll second the motion.
roll call, please?
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Ed Edenhead,
Yes.
Amy Call Frazier,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Right.
Take one.
Okay. And at this point, we're going to have our administrative report. Would you all like to stay for the rest of this very long agenda? Or would you all, well, I'm giving you this wonderful opportunity to make your grand exit if you'd like. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you all. Thank you, Ron, and
Thank you very
all of your
much.
information, very helpful.
And is this
Thank
your
you.
final meeting?
Until I swear, you're welcome. Thank you, it's been my pleasure. And I will get the honor of swearing in Miss Marcy. Next time, that'll be real quick. That's my last little honorary duty. So, thank you, it's been nice working with you. I will watch from a community member side now. Okay. Yeah. I might be here, but, item 11, administrative report. Mr.
Okay.
Wells.
First off, and I made mention of this last month, or maybe it was even in December. We had excessive lunchroom charges. In December, we'd already accumulated $21,000 in charges in our cafeterias. So if that continues to go, then we're looking by the end of the year, it's a cost of one teacher. So check around some of the other schools. Some have policies, some don't. But most of them have had good luck with some of these changes. These are some, I'm not asking you to adopt them tonight, so I want you to look at and think about. You may want to get some feedback. But excessive charges in the lunchroom, possible consequences. At the beginning of the year, students that have lunch charges from the previous year will not be allowed to enroll or receive their schedules. Bills will be passed out once a month. Elementary school, those will be put in their backpacks or folders. Middle school and high school students, they'll receive a notice in the mail. Here we go. They'll be allowed to charge 14 times. On the 14th charge, then the students will receive the letter and the parents will receive a phone call stating that they have exceeded their maximum number of charges, and from that point on, they'll receive a healthy meal. It'll be a cheese sandwich, a drink, and a fruit until these are paid. All charges need to be paid in full. Consequences, no field trips, no classroom trips. There's even one school that's talking about not allowing their seniors to participate in graduation exercises if they have any kind of unpaid fees. So anyway, that's some things to consider. I think we need to do something. I don't know how severe we want to be, but I guess the bottom line to a lot of this is probably 3/4 of the people that have charged, they qualify for free and reduced lunches. And all they got to do is fill out the form. We get our reimbursement back through the government. So, I don't know. Of course, it's a twofold deal too. When you look at finances for schools, every one of those students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, we get like a 0.25 weighted child count, which is about $750. Well, you take $750 and you multiply it times 1,500 kids. That's a pretty good chunk of money there. That if we, and people are always asking, how can I help the school? How can I help the schools? And I've always told them, fill out your free and reduced lunch form. Some people qualify, some don't. That's fine. The ones that qualify, we put them in a file. They're not distributed to anybody. They're put in a locked file cabinet and kept for review, which we had a review from the State Department of Child Nutrition this past week.
What are you doing to encourage parents to apply for?
Well, one of the things that's so difficult is the form that they have to fill out. We hand them a 4 or 5 pages that they've got. This is the federal government stuff. We've talked to Child Nutrition and say, is there something we can do to make this smaller? Because if basically it's a 1-page form, it's what's required for them to fill out. We may do this if we can get the personnel to try and get organized. Next year when enrollment comes around and we hand those out, we'll say, we would love to help you fill this out if you want us to. We may get more participation that way. We've had better participation this year than, Judy told me that she'd got more in this year than she'd ever gotten before. But you look at some of these kids and they qualify, you know their parents, you know where they come from, you know they qualify, but the parents just won't do it. There's a mentality in Seminole right now that we'll just charge, they're not going to make us pay for it anyway. because we haven't for years and years and years. So we're looking at losing, $25, $30, even $40,000 a year on people that are charging the lunchroom that, and some of them can pay. But then the majority of them, like I said, 3/4 of those kids, they qualify for free and reduced lunches. We know they do. We do as much as we can by, they call it a direct certification. We can log into a data bank that if they're receiving any type of assistance through the government, then we can count them, whether the parents fill out a form or not. We get a large majority of our people through that. So we've tried to do everything we can. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So how much did you say the debit was right now? 14,000?
No, we were at over 20,000 in December.
And how many children do you think that is? I mean, just around.
Yes, I don't know.
Just like 200 or 500 or 100 or?
There's probably, I'd say probably 300 district-wide.
Okay. So it'd be some effort to try to, okay. Can we actually not allow them to enroll?
Other schools
Can we do
have done
that?
it. Other schools have done it. I mean, until they pay their charge or to make some, now there are some schools that are looking at doing a credit card where the parents can use their credit card. Now, that's probably another headache that I'm getting ready to add there if we were to do it. So I'm not ready to do that right now. But
Mr. Weldon, if you do get the forms in, say, right now in February, will that take care of a past due balance?
no.
It doesn't address
No,
their
it doesn't address that.
eligibility
No, it
for
doesn't.
that. It just means for...
We actually, there's a child count that goes out like the 1st of October that we actually get our numbers. Now, anytime a student fills the form out, then they automatically qualify. We just don't get to count those kids on our child count after October 1. So.
And this cheese sandwich, drink, and food, does that meet that guidelines, that whatever that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
They used to do peanut butter and jelly, but there's so many kids now that are allergic to peanut butter, so they don't do that any longer. I did mention the fact that we got an audit. We were audited by the State Department of Child Nutrition this past week, and I've still got to meet with a lady. And to address the pizza thing, we got wrote up over that because we didn't take sealed bids for that. So we've got to advertise that in the paper, has to run. We have to take those bids. And more than likely, Mazio is going to be the only one that responds. But to meet state guidelines, we have to do that. There's also another issue we've got with some of our other procurements that we're going to have to do the same thing on. There was a concern with the lady I talked to from the State Department. She's concerned that pizza 2 days a week is too excessive. She said, what's going to happen is your kids are going to get burnt out on it. Pizza every other day, eventually they're going to get to the point where they're not going to want that. And if that's your main meal on the serving line that day, then now we're facing a bigger problem. So anyway, something that we might want to reconsider or look at a different time. Any questions on the child nutrition end of it?
You want us just to look at this and kind of think about
Yeah,
it?
look at it and
Okay.
I'll give me some feedback because I'll come to you next month with a recommendation that we support some type of corrective action to take care of this.
Okay.
I'm going to mention this real briefly because I know Ed's got his, but the portable science lab is here. It has been unloaded. It was quite an ordeal, but those guys have got the equipment to take care of it. 24 by 60 from Whitesboro, Texas to Seminole, Oklahoma. There were some challenges, but it's here. It's blocked up. It's ready to go. It has been anchored, and so we're waiting on. In fact, I talked to Ed this afternoon, but he can talk to you about that a little bit more. Budget cuts. That's all we hear in the paper. We're still okay. Our budget cuts to this date have not exceeded what our midterm adjustment was going to be. We had a midterm adjustment of approximately $122,000 increase in our state aid. So far, our cuts have been in the neighborhood of $70,000. So we're still all right. But I can promise you, There will be more cuts to come this spring. We just don't know at what level or what magnitude. Last thing on my report is the hazardous mitigation plan. We had to give some additional information. I got that to Michael about a month ago. In fact, it was right after we had our last meeting, so he's got that. I talked to Ernie. Everything looks good. There's money to state. I talked to a guy over around Wetumpka that wrote a grant for Seminole a couple of years ago. It's still there at the State Department with FEMA. And he was going to check on it to see if we need to make any adjustments just to bring it up to code. So in talking to Ernie earlier, it looks like the money's going to be there. There is money there. We've got a project that's on file to be done. So there's a good possibility that before the school year's over, we may see some type of project over at Wilson. I think that's where it's supposed to be. So anyway,
What is the nature, do you know what the project is, or?
the safe room.
It's a safe room there?
Yeah.
So it's already been laid out and
No, I don't know. I haven't seen the plan. All I know is that it was submitted a couple of years ago, and it's still on file up there to date. It'll be utilized as classroom space, mainly. So, anyway, any questions? Beg pardon?
Did John tell you the number?
No.
I want to say it was like 350, but I can't remember.
350,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's the 75 or that's the 100%, and you all got to come up with
Yeah,
25.
FEMA is different. I built 2 safe rooms at a school I was at. They were about $250,000 a piece then. We used one for a band room, we used one for the middle school, high school, we used one for a computer lab. Now, at that particular time, we got close to the end of the project, and it was a 75-25 match. We got close to the end of the project, FEMA had some money left over, and they called and said, Bill, do you have documentation to support your 25%? And I said, yes, I do. He said, if you'll send that to me, we'll go ahead and fund the other 25%, because if they didn't use that money, they would have to send it back to Washington, D.C. and lose it. So it was the end of a funding cycle. They had money left. They didn't want to. So I don't know if we can get that lucky again. But anyway, 75-25 is a good match, especially if it puts safe rooms and additional classroom space over at Wilson. So, any other questions? Thank you.
no. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, item 13. Oh, wait, no, item 12. I do that every time. Item 12, principal's report. Angela. Mrs. Wilmot.
Shoot. Gotta do this.
Good evening. I get to talk to you about winter time because I have 250 students who are crossing their fingers for snow. But because it looks like we're not going to get snow, I get to tell you about our winter ball that we're going to have this coming Thursday evening. We are so excited because there's going to be Disney princesses there. Our little ones are getting ready. So many of our little boys, I've heard from their mamas that they're renting tuxedos. So I don't think there's anything cuter than a 5-year-old in a tuxedo. And the little girls are either going to wear their Sunday dresses or they're going to dress as Disney princesses. We have lots of Elsas and Annas, which, as you know, if you've seen Frozen, it's all about winter. Everything that we're doing is winter themed. We've got sequined silver birds that when the kids pretend that they touch, they turn into ice. So we are very, very excited. And one of the things that we're talking to the kids about is that this is a time to honor our teachers. We're teaching the girls, as the teachers are announced, to curtsy, and the boys to bow, because we want to honor our teachers. And so they're so excited. And I just have to tell you that last year, all of our teachers dressed up as queens. I was a queen, the teachers were queens. But Miss Thurza Baker, she dressed up as a queen, but the Queen of England. So it was pretty neat because here she comes and all of the teachers are coming out and they're in their queen costumes, and here she comes with her purse and her satchel with her hat on as the Queen of England. It was really great. I get to tell you about the diligent students of the month for February. They are as follows: Jocelyn Roden, D'Angelo Fixico, Noah Gamble, Aiden Frere, Peyton Worley, Jakaya Andrews, Thor Mize, Alexandria West, Eli Mullen, Braylon Harjo, Eliana Adams, Riley Monroe, Jocelyn Hopkins, and Bryce Mills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cheatwood.
I'm going to keep it really short. I'm going to start off with our cake and professional development that we had in January. It was a huge success. BLS and Wilson were together. Teachers loved it, and many of them said it was the most useful and best professional development that they had been to in a very long time. They all left excited and ready to try the strategies that they learned in their classrooms, and the ones that I've seen have been very successful. I mentioned earlier in the year that many of the teachers at Wilson have been submitting projects to Donors Choose. We have been so blessed by Donors Choose, and many of the teachers' projects continue to be funded. Just today I was notified that Mrs. Green, her project was funded, and this was her first project, and she will be receiving a mini iPad and several accessories, so congratulations to Ms. Green. First grade students of the month for January were Greg Dudley, Bella Chambliss, Rihanna Welch, Carter Childs, Devereaux Nelson, Paige Atson, Kason Gorniak, Alyssa Simpson, Roland Gonzalez, Kinsley Johnson, Seth Harjo, Michaela Garrett, Dakota Coulter, and Aubrey Bates. Congratulations to these hardworking students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. First off, Davin Smithy and Dalen Saxon represented Seminole Schools in the Regional Spelling Bee, which was held over at Grove Elementary in Shawnee. They got beat out by two 7th grade young ladies, but it was a great challenge for them, and they represented us well. 5th grade had a fabulous field trip to the state capitol on Friday. If you missed it, we made the front page of the paper. So this is pretty cool. Our kids are very excited to see that they're famous. The Colonial Day was all about living in colonial times. They got to hear from James Madison, Paul Revere, Ben Franklin, who really does look like Ben Franklin, and even George Washington's physician. They learned how to be a spy, got to try their hand at cracking code, did their own tinsmithing, learned colonial dancing, African drumming, and closed out the day on the Senate floor with a very spirited debate as loyalists and patriots. And they had practiced their lines and what they would say and what their position was. And so it was pretty interesting to watch 5th graders on the floor. They felt pretty big in those chairs. Friday was also a big day for our music program. The Circle the State with Song Festival was held over at Shawnee. Our students have been learning songs all year, and this was the first time for them to rehearse with the other students from local schools, Ada, Bing, Shawnee, Holdenville, and several others were at the event. They practiced and rehearsed all day long, and I have to tell you, I was blown away by their performance. It was exceptional, and it was quite impressive that our students were able to do such a fantastic job. Mrs. Gates is responsible for bringing this addition to our Northwood Music program. We appreciate all of the students' hard work. They stayed after school 2 and 3 days a week to practice their different parts because they actually had, whether they were sopranos or baritones or altos, and it was really great. Very, very impressive. On March 3rd, we will host an Oklahoma author, Darlene Beard, for a day during Read Across America Week. Her most recent title is Will Rogers, Oklahoma's Favorite Son. She is a Sequoia nominee author. Her other books include Annie Glover is Not a Tree Lover, The Flim Flam Man, and Twister. So we're excited to have her. The science fair will take place March 3rd through the 8th. The students will set up their projects on the 3rd, judging on the 4th, and then they'll be available for parents to come and look at on the 7th and 8th during parent-teacher conferences. I want to thank Mrs. Lloyd, Carol Lloyd, and our Super Science Squad. They've been doing demonstrations each month for the science fair, trying to generate some excitement and motivate the students to participate. On March 9th, OSU's Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources will be bringing their Insect Adventure Live Bug Petting Zoo, which sounds really cool if you're a 4th, 5th, or 6th grader. They bring over 80 different species of bugs, some of which are Oklahoma native species. The students will learn about 18 different tarantulas, one of the world's largest centipedes, which happens to be bright blue, bugs that eat styrofoam, which is helpful for the environment, and technology that makes bulletproof vest out of spider web silk. So we're pretty excited about that. The 4th grade will spend a day at the Chesapeake Arena on March 10th for their Thunder Blue Field Trip Day. And it's a day of learning and excitement with Thunder Blue and Rumble. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I started to get up and go first because I knew somebody would steal my thunder on the Kagan Professional Development. I just want to reiterate what Ms. Cheatwood said about the successful professional development we had, and we have several teachers at the middle school that are using these strategies successfully in the classroom, and we also have a professional development day on Friday that we're looking forward to. This is the last week for basketball. Thursday's our last game, and we'll have a couple weeks break, and then we'll start with the spring sports. State testing begins this month, starting the 8th grade writing test on February the 23rd. Congratulations to the February students of the month. The 7th grade students are Deja Minner and Thomas Choate, and the 8th grade students are Bariah West and Carson Taylor. And before the next board meeting, we will have parent-teacher conferences.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yours is much smaller than mine. Speaking of the Kagan, it was, that workshop was so good that it went all the way from kindergarten to high school, and we have a lot of teachers interested in working toward that. It was a great workshop. Anyway, the biggest thing at the high school this week was the new science building. Miss Shelb was actually dancing in the office about it. It is up, set up on blocks. We're waiting on Ed to put it all together so we can move in. I actually had one teacher emailed me Friday and wanted to pack over the weekend and move on Monday. I'm like, you're moving a little fast there. Anyway, we had basketball on Saturday against Meeker. We won both games. A couple of real good games. Our boys did real well. They had been beaten by Meeker early in the season. We play Prague at home tomorrow night. You guys come on out and enjoy the game.
Last home game.
It is the last home game, that's right. We have a game, I believe, Friday, and then we finish up on Monday. I believe is what it is. The debate team did very well, with 6 students placing highly in the last competition at Prague High School. Speech and debate will be traveling to Bristow February 26th and 27th. If you have a chance to go and see that, it's really something it's really nice to enjoy. The kids do a great job. Our ag department will be competing in the state archery meet on Wednesday at Oklahoma City at the fairgrounds at 1 o'clock. We have 16 students competing in this.
Wow.
And Brian Sims won second place in his class in the Fort Worth steer auction with his Scimitar heifer. And like Mr. Dean, EOI testing is just around the corner. I believe we open up in April. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Archery competition.
All right, facilities and maintenance report.
Mr. Willis just asked me to report to you that, I guess he's been back there doing homework while we were going through this, but he came up with the grant is $4 million.
Oh, really?
All right. We've got a couple of projects going on. Obviously, the new science building, we plan to put a green metal roof on that, skirt it. We've got to move a wall inside, and we're working with Sheldon Labs to try and get everything inside ready for them when they show up. We hope to be ready so we can get on with that. We're also working with Mr. Osmond to make sure that the technology part is going to be working and up and going. So I think it'll go well. We've got a couple of months, I think. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we'll have a problem getting that done. The other project that I thought you might want to know about is, last year, we had some issues with the sewer line at Wilson. We closed the bathroom there and ended up making that a reading intervention room. Now we have all the sinks in the first grade hall are all shut down because we don't have any drainage in there. So over this break, we're going to start Thursday busting out the floor. We know where the issue is. We'll be tearing that out, trying to get that corrected. If things go well, we'll have that all corrected, ready to go back to school Tuesday morning.
Good.
That's awesome. Thank you.
What was the date of the science building? You said you didn't...
Well, the furnishings that we voted on, the lead time on those, because they make them to fit, is 10 to 12 weeks. So we're looking at the end of April probably before we get everything in place.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 14. Consider and take necessary action to approve the district wellness policy, which is in the back of your notebook.
I move we approve the policy.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Whoa. I gotta go faster.
Kay Levy?
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead?
Yes.
Amy Cole-Frazier?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
Vicki Upton?
Yes.
Item 15, consider and take necessary action to approve the district technology plan for 2016 through 2019.
I move we approve the district technology plan as presented.
Do we have some a presentation on this, or?
Go ahead. He wanted to know if we have a presentation on this. Did you get a copy of the policy? Okay.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's in there. Did you have some questions?
So, has the committee met yet? The committee?
After you approve it, then we'll get with the
Okay.
committee.
Okay, and then, so there was two things here. One is a policy, acceptable use policy. Was that what you were making a motion on, was to both?
No,
Jack?
I'm just moving that we approve the district technology plan as presented.
So
I just made the motion.
The acceptable use policy is not in the agenda. So can we do that, or does that?
Separately.
Not?
Well, it would.
I did the acceptable use policy because remember in the last
That's right.
meeting, we said we would bring that back in
That's right.
February.
It was old information, so it looks good,
So,
but I don't think we can approve it, can we?
Well, can
It's
the
part of the
policy is part of this plan, wouldn't that
Okay.
Part of the
constitute?
technology, overall.
So that would
technology plan.
replace 3.1 and 3.11 in our policy book.
Right.
And this would go in its place?
I actually put them together.
That,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
good.
that's
Puts the
fine.
whole, yeah,
Okay.
the plan encompasses.
Did you get a second, Jack?
No.
Would you like, roll call, please?
Kay Levy?
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead?
Yes.
Amy Cole-Frazier?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
Vicki Upton?
Yes.
Item
Plan, I like it.
Okay, good. Item 16, consider and take necessary action to amend Article 1, Section 1.8.7 of the District Board Policy Handbook to add the flag salute and a moment of silence to the order of business at a regular meeting of the Board of Education.
I requested this. I've just seen other districts and other communities, city councils do it. I think it's a good custom. That's why I put it on there. I mean, I've like on the flag salute, I mean, if we've got principals who want a student to lead us in the flag salute each month, I think that would be nice. And then I think a moment of silence is a good thing, just allows everyone to reflect on what we're here for. And so I make a motion we amend the policy as proposed.
I'll second that.
Okay, and it would be after the roll call and before the consent agenda then, right? Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Vicki Upton?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
And then cold closure?
Yes.
That Kay didn't have?
Yes.
Kay Levy?
Yes. Item 17, consider and take possible action to amend Article 1, Section 1.8.3 of the District Board Policy Handbook. This refers to the televising or live streaming of our board meetings.
I propose this. Our current policy has that we televise board meetings. We don't televise board meetings. We do it via live stream on ustream.tv. I just kind of modified the existing policy to reflect that. I would also propose one change where it says that the necessary broadcasting equipment shall be provided by the district. The district doesn't actually provide the equipment. And I would change the word provided to used by the district.
Okay. So it allows us to continue
Yes.
the way we are.
Right, what we
Okay,
have.
what we
But
have.
it just changes everything to where we are live streaming the meetings, not televising.
Okay. But it's still in the event if there's technical difficulties or scheduling conflicts.
Right, we had it just with technical difficulties, but I made the change because there was a time when Todd could not be here, and it's actually the meeting where the architects presented, so we just recorded it. We did all we could to film it and get it posted for public viewing as soon as possible.
And that's still in the policy, right?
Well, I added that.
Oh,
That
you
wasn't
added
in the
it.
policy.
Okay.
I added it.
Oh, that's right, you
so-
did. Well, it was worded just differently
Go ahead.
before.
One thing I would like to add of what I get from the public about this. Moving forward and how important this is going to be with the architects, with the bondsmen, more important, other important players that are going to come in. We need to do something differently about how we are presenting this to the public. Because I got 3 texts when the architects are speaking here along with the bond person, and this is how many words that the public could hear them say. 0. There's no microphone. I have no chance. We could spend $1 million. Tommy and I could come in and put a system in here that would be state of the art.
Not happening.
And if we don't put a microphone in front of them or anything, guess what? You wasted your money. So we're going to have to, moving forward, address this in a different way, or I need your help and support with the public to say, that's all we're putting into it. I'm sorry, come to the meetings. Because I'm the one that's catching it all on the backside of, we can't hear, why are we doing this? This is a problem. We were better off down at the city council, blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. We can't move equipment from the football stadium up here that costs $40,000 to have multiple cameras and all of that, because Coach Snyder's going to have a fit if I drop it. So we need to address, somehow we're going to do this different, because the public wants to hear what those people have to say.
Can we not get an additional one of these just to?
You can if they'll put them on, or require, have Mr. Weldon, when he schedules the guest or whomever that's coming in, or whoever's doing the scheduling, tell them, if you're going to speak, you will have to get up and go to the podium where there's a microphone.
So they were able to hear them at the podium with the microphone.
Oh, just not-
when they were
Certainly, so you're
seated
sitting
in the
out here.
We had that
Oh,
same
and they're here.
issue
Gotcha.
at the council chamber.
Yeah, we
They're
did.
going to somewhat hear me because I have a big voice.
I was
They're
gonna
not
ask that.
going to- Krista, hush. They're not going to hear those types of people that don't speak up very well. It's hard enough. I have it turned up all the way. I can't turn it up any more than what that microphone is turned up when those gentlemen speak up there, because they
Okay.
just don't have big voices.
They're just going to have to get up and go to the podium, I guess.
That's your decision. I'm just saying, in your policy, you need
Well,
to address
you'll be
it now,
president.
because you all are going to get, because my answer is going to have to be,
Okay.
like it was today when someone said, why did we leave the city council building or the library? My answer was, I don't know the answer to that. I
Just
have no
saying.
knowledge on the subject. You would have to ask the board.
Ask the board, call Mr. Weldon or ask the board members. There you go.
So can we alter this to include that present something along the lines of presenters will be mic'd or will have to be?
I don't know that we need a policy. Whoever's conducting the
We
meeting
just-
just needs to tell speakers to
Okay.
come up to the
Come up
lectern
here.
and speak into the microphone. Yeah, we
Right.
had the same issue at the library.
Right.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
people would stay out in the audience and want to speak from there instead of coming to the podium, and so it wouldn't pick them up.
And we would forget to tell them to get up to the
Now,
lectern.
the
Yeah,
reason-
I don't think about it.
The reason the podium is not over here is because
So you
then again,
can-
we're going to start requiring multiple cameras. The reason I moved it there was
Right.
because we had a lot of conversation about, we can't see the people. We
Okay.
don't get to see them. And unless we start putting multiple cameras and everything, then
I
I
understand.
can't solve all problems. It's an undertaking to do this. I mean, when we do this down at the football stadium, it takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours to set all that gear up. When we run all 3 cameras with all the replay equipment and everything, and there's about 6 people involved in it, not just one and one camera. So it's a major undertaking to do things like that, which gets into costs.
Okay. Well, we will definitely need to address that. That'll be, well, that's an idea.
Or that.
Yeah, okay.
Just put it on the end of the table.
We need- Sounds good.
Something to. keep
Something
them
more
sound.
to, okay, we need to give them sound, that's right.
I'll make the motion to adopt the policy as proposed.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Vicki Upton.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Nicole Frazier.
Yes.
Kay Leahy.
Yes. Item 18, discuss and take possible action on the community relations policy.
I proposed this, and since last meeting, after I talked to the OSSBA, and they recommended some changes, most of which I made. The only change that I didn't, they suggested that we charge a fee. I'm not about to suggest that. A lot of public bodies do that, but I'm not about to suggest that. I'm going to continue. I didn't put that. And then Stu Phillips, he called me. They get the board materials before the board meeting. They kind of have a standing request for those.
Haven't been getting them.
Well,
Beg pardon?
We haven't been getting them. We get the agenda, but not the board materials.
Oh, is that what you mean? Yeah, the agenda.
well,
We have a new request bill for it.
right. Stu made the request that there be something for logistical purposes, because we got the requirement that council be contacted before disclosing. That creates a logistical issue where, like, the paper wouldn't get the board materials before the meeting. I added a sentence that the policy of contacting the legal counsel shall not apply to materials disseminated to board members prior to regular meetings to cover that per Stu and I's conversation. But otherwise,
So say that again. So,
the paper has a standing request for, we get a packet each on the Friday before Monday meeting. And the paper has a standing request that they receive the materials that we receive.
Right.
On the Friday before the meeting, that they get them before the meeting. The policy for the open records request provides for legal counsel being contacted to review the records to ensure that all confidential student and personnel records remain confidential. That policy creates a logistical issue with regard to the request by the newspaper because, board materials are prepared on Friday morning, and so if they've got to be sent to an attorney on the Friday before Monday meeting, the attorney can't get back to us until probably the next week after the meeting, and so the paper wouldn't get the materials until after the fact. And so I added a sentence to provide that policy wouldn't apply to materials or board packets.
But I would almost think it would need to apply to board packets because sometimes you have correspondence from attorneys in there. Sometimes you'll have lists of all the people that interviewed for a given position. And do we want the names of the people that were not?
I think you and Stu said you could redact as necessary.
Well, that's kind of the point, having an attorney review that to determine what should be redacted. And obviously, I'm not married to this. It's good to have discussion to figure out the best way to do this.
I don't mind having a board packet in general. It's just those certain things that might have the names of other people who interviewed for a position but were not selected to be hired. That's not anything anybody needs to have, and nor could that be requested. That would be considered confidential. But occasionally, one of those will make it into a board packet.
other schools have the same issue. What what's everybody else do? I mean, we want to give out as much information as we possibly can, but we don't want to do anything that makes someone feel like they can't apply for a job because their name's going to be in the paper.
Right.
So what's done at other institutions? I don't.
Most schools have an open records request policy, kind of, that mirrors this, and the OSSBA said this was a good policy.
So are they suggesting we have our materials ready earlier, or?
Well, the OSSBA made no suggestion concerning that issue. That was just conversations Stu and I had.
To accommodate the paper,
Right.
to have it?
And I don't want to.
I don't want to make more work for
Yeah, I don't
Ann,
want
but,
to.
yeah.
I would think that we could figure out, in an effort to accommodate the press, we could figure out which items routinely the press would like to have. In other words, policy changes, financial information, things that would be easily released without violating anyone's rights to confidentiality.
So you think we should redact it Friday morning before the packet's sent out? So we send one to the board and,
Materials.
one packet to the board and one redacted packet to the newspaper?
What about that? Shall not apply to financial or policy materials disseminated
Okay.
to board members.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
that
Yeah.
would make sure that...
Can I have that?
Yeah.
To give to her.
Yeah, that would make sure then a copy of the agenda plus the financial detail plus any policy changes. And I really think that's pretty much typically what's in our packet. I can't... Contracts.
Fundraisers.
I don't know, are you all interested in
Sometimes-
contracts and fundraisers?
Well, I mean,
Well, we're not trying to leave you out. Yeah.
I'd say on a case-by-case basis,
Well,
Because I don't know, I mean, I honestly,
So anything
not
that's
to
not confidential.
belabor the point, but I don't know that
What did she
until
add?
the board votes on it.
To
I
apply
always
to
think that's
financial
when
or
the
policy material.
right to that record
Okay.
kicks in. I think before that, it's really not a record of the district. But I understand all of this will mean a lot more if you've seen it ahead of time and know what we're discussing up here, and so we're not trying to frustrate that. We're just looking for some policy language that makes it crystal clear what gets released and what doesn't. Why don't we use this as a starting place?
So what, table this and
Well,
come
no,
back?
I would add, I like financial or policy materials. That doesn't apply to financial or policy materials. So like
That's to the last sentence
Right,
in the
any-
second paragraph on 11.3.2.
proposed policies, or, like the district technology plan and the wellness policy, our financial records, our encumbrance registers and all that, that doesn't apply. And
that doesn't apply?
That would
not
be,
apply.
that would be allowed.
Right, that would
Okay,
not,
okay.
the policy wouldn't apply to that.
Well, I mean, I think you could probably, conversation between the paper and your superintendent to kind of come to a mutual agreement. We don't feel like we feel like it's personal information that doesn't need to be shared. And I think Stu and everybody Kim would work with us.
I would make a motion that we adopt the policy as proposed with the, I'll just make a motion we adopt the policy as proposed. And with the addition of financial or policy language.
Does that cover
policy.
like contracts and things like that they might want to see as well, or do you think?
I don't know that covers contracts, but contracts are what we so often receive legal advice. As, for example, would we have released the memo and the amendments and all of that from Andy Fugit? Then we're getting into attorney-client.
Yeah, confidential.
Yeah.
And confidential
And so
communications.
I think that's a grayer area. I think if we were going to ask someone who is not used to deciding what is or is not confidential, who's trying to get something out in a hurry as they're trying to get board packets out to board members, I think if we said policy changes and financial information for a start, and then I think, Ken, if you saw something on that agenda that didn't have anything with it, you could call and say, And I think any of us would take a quick look at it and try and see if there was a way we could get that to you or get the information to you. But not in a way that, we just don't want a policy that has any chance of confidential stuff routinely going out the door.
Well, I'm gonna throw this out, but just for thought, but it's pretty difficult to get everything ready to go on Friday afternoon when 10 o'clock, up till 10 o'clock on Friday morning, we're getting things to add to the agenda, so we have to shuffle everything around, and then to get everything put together and get out to the board members in time. And if we're gonna go through the process of trying to figure out, okay, does this go, does it go, I think we're setting ourselves up for a mistake.
We just need to amend the policy of when board members need to get their agenda items in to Thursday at 5, something like that. I mean, and if it's,
Okay.
or whatever the office requests.
Yeah.
So that would be helpful.
Thursday at noon.
And obviously different if we have a Thursday meeting.
Okay, so
We can't make that policy change
now
tonight.
what time Thursday do you want the tentative agendas?
We get those on Wednesday.
Okay.
No, we get them, we got
Billy,
them
we get them on
Thursday, it's a
Thursdays.
Monday meeting.
Well, I mean, I would ask
Okay.
Miss Ann what she,
Just back everything up.
I'll tell you, when you get it on Friday, and the agenda has to go out on Friday, it's really hard to get a million copies and change all the agendas and get everybody's books out to them. It's really, really hard. So I mean, if we could do it like Thursday afternoon,
okay?
I don't mean like at 4, but I mean 1 or 2 or noon, something like that.
And then have the tentative agenda on Wednesday? Wednesday, would-
If we get you the tentative agenda on Wednesday and have any additions by Thursday at noon.
And then that gives you Friday
Yeah.
to actually get stuff out to
You
people.
bet. I think that sounds very reasonable.
and we can actually formally amend the policy.
Can put that on it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Glad to do it.
Ahead of time.
We'll do that next month, and then y'all can adopt the policy next month to fit it, so.
That sounds great.
Where are you inserting the policy changes or financial?
I've got them. I've got
He
them.
wrote it down.
I've got them all right here. That's all of them.
Okay, there's the one that he's changing.
Because a change was made to it.
Oh, okay, there's changes on others.
Second, your item 17.
No.
Okay, there's Jack made the motion, Amy seconded. All those in favor, well, wait a minute, roll call please. Wrong meeting, I know. Cool. Well, after Ann looks
It's
at it.
actually number 18 now.
Yeah.
18, it's 18.
Uh-oh, what were you saying? Did I say the wrong number?
Yeah, 18.
Item number 18?
Jack, make a motion.
Yes, and Jack made the motion, Amy seconded.
Okay.
Roll call please, sorry.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Coclaser.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Okay, item number 19, discuss and take possible action on district cafeteria pay policy.
I kind of jumped the gun a while ago, so we already talked about that, so.
So no action, take
No.
it home and look at it, right? Okay, no action there. Item 20, discuss and take possible action on the approval of Audie Woodard Scholarship Activity Fund account number 802.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call,
Kay
sorry.
Levy,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Coclaser.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Item 21, discuss and take possible action to approve the following expenditures for Activity Fund account number 802, Audie Woodard Scholarship Activity Fund, for scholarships for students and investments.
So moved.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What are we talking about with investments?
That's just the language
Is that off of them?
when we do, there are investments on that. And there, I
Okay.
don't think there's going to be,
Okay.
it's not going to be an issue on this
Just
one,
general
but
language.
That's just the general
Okay.
language off the other
Okay,
ones.
all right.
Okay, roll call, please.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Coclaser.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Item 22, I'm going to read this with the correction that was made to the posted agenda. That's right.
Right, I emailed you the correct.
You did, okay, okay. Well, I'd been told. Okay, item 22, discussion and possible action to schedule special meetings for the purpose of superintendent application review, first round of interviews and second round of interviews. I've spoken with Stephanie Hyder, and the first date that she threw out to us for our initial applicant review, where she comes and gives us some guidance and so forth, didn't work for everyone. So, Marcy, you're still here. You're just hiding behind Jerry. Okay. I hope you brought your calendar because we need to pick a new date. We're looking at the February 24th or February 29th. She highly recommended that we do it on the 24th if we can, which is a Wednesday night.
Prompting auctions is the 29th, so.
Pardon me?
Prompting auction is the 29th.
Oh, is it really? Well, we can do it on the 29th, or the 29th. Oh, did you say that was the 29th?
Yes.
Monday? Okay, so the 24th does work for people. Does it work for you?
Yes.
Okay, it works for me too. February 24th, okay. Which is a Wednesday. We haven't set a time, so I would say 6 o'clock for, does that help?
For working professionals?
Yes, for you working professionals that work out of town. Okay. 6 o'clock, will that work for you, Marcy? And let's see, it'll be here in the middle school cafeteria. Does that work for you?
The school library.
Okay. Now, it's going to be an executive session primarily because it's subjects that have to be discussed in executive session. I think really that's all that's going to be on that agenda, as far as I know, unless I'm told otherwise. I think we'll come out and make an executive session statement, but it's going to be, applicant review. So that was what I was told. That date will be, Jack will be, oh wait, I take that back. We're going to reorganize. I scratched that. That is the day we're going to install Marcy early because it's a special meeting and I can no longer conduct school business after the 12th of this week. So Marcy will be installed and we will reorganize the board. Jack will take it from there if they so move, and I'm sure they will. So anyway, then there'll be executive session. So anyway, that being said, we need to choose 2 to possibly 3 days the week later for the first round of interviews. And what they'd like to do, at the day she comes, we were supposed to decide on February 24th. We are going to come in hand with the applicants that we are comfortable with, we're happy with, and I guess we make that decision that day of who we're going to interview, and then they will, I don't know how many there'll be, but she said keep it to 2 to 3 applicants per night, allowing about an hour for each one with a 15-minute break, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. She said don't try to do more than 2 or 3 a night. She said typically people do it over 2 days and give her a third day option. Oh shoot. Give her a third day option for her to adjust her schedule if necessary. So
she would like to know the next week.
The very next week.
And those would both be first round
interviews.
Okay.
And that will give them time to call them, set them up with the client, and for us to have 2 separate nights, because that way we would start them, I would assume, at 6 o'clock. So it'd be an hour, then 15 minutes and an hour.
March 1st and March 3rd, good with everybody? That's a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Make it fit.
You have to, oh, you didn't? Oh, no. I meant to remind you again. Okay. Sorry.
March 1st and March 3rd.
Yes, now she would like an optional day that week.
Oh, and a third day?
Oh, I don't know how many interviews you all are going to be doing, so this was weird. But she said throw out 2 to 3 days possible for the next week. And then we're going to do it again the following week for
Friday, March 4th, if you want to.
You want to do?
It's just
Did you say March 1st? March, okay, because I'm going
Do we
to,
want to tackle them, Monday the 29th, is that prom thing?
that's
If I'm the only
out.
one going to that, I'll miss it. I mean, we're just buying a table. I mean,
No, you ought to do that.
Let's see your call.
We could do Wednesday, March 2nd as our, maybe a third if something didn't work out, but hopefully we don't need it.
Yeah, we could do first, second, and third if you'd like to do. And just say first and third are your number 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah. Does that
Okay.
sound?
Mm-hmm.
Do these have to be streamed?
No.
they're all executive
Yeah.
session.
So March 1, 2, and 3,
Yes.
first and third preference?
First is the first preference, third is the second day, and then the second would be the third preference. If I can remember this. Okay, here's what we have to decide. If we choose to have the extra service background check, they need 7 to 10 days between first and second week interviews, first round and second round. I did bring a copy of the charges, if you'd like to see them, or want an explanation. Of what they do. I've got it right here. Hold on 1 second. I have them, I just gotta find them. Where did I put them? They're right in here. Here we are. The standard background check is a national criminal record check, wanted fugitive search, social security verification, previous address validation, and national sex offender record search. Then after that, it goes into additional fee service, was like $660 per candidate, which is comprehensive, the due diligence standard package, which is, there's a long list. You all want to see that?
I just think the standard background check is
What they include?
more than sufficient.
Okay, that's, I was just told to ask you.
So then we
Which is
won't
included.
have to have the,
We still need, we can just book them 1 week apart. We don't have to wait 7 to 10.
7 to 10 days.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
But I had to verify that, because should we choose to do that with somebody, it doesn't give them time.
Credit report.
I didn't think so either.
Okay.
We didn't choose it the first go-round, but I think we decided, if we decided to later, we would discuss it. Okay, well, she asked us, because she thought maybe we'd change our mind. Okay, so round 2, those are round 1 interviews. The next week would be,
And we have our regular meeting on March 7th.
so it would need to be 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th.
And I can't the 10th. That's
Okay.
just a can't. But I could do the 8th, 9th, or 11th.
Okay. Okay.
I can do all of those dates.
let's
Right.
do the Wednesday.
When's spring break?
Oh, when is spring break? Yeah, that's the following week.
Week
That's
of the
right.
third Wednesday.
11th. Yeah.
The 11th, yeah. Oh, that's right, 8th, 9th, and 10th, so, oh, it starts on the 11th.
It's Friday.
That's right, that's
We
Friday.
need 3 days for the second one?
She was probably only going to use 2,
Okay, so
and she said to make sure and tell her when, well,
what about 8th
children
and
would
10th
speak.
again? Just do the Tuesday and Thursday again.
And then like 9th,
The 10th.
Okay.
oh, that's right, we can't do the 10th, 8th and 9th.
8th and 9th.
Let's just say 8th and 9th, we're not going, we should have narrowed it down, there should only be 1 day possibly, or, okay, forget the 11th. 8th and 9th,
Teacher conference is here on the 8th.
on the 8th, parent-teacher conference.
Well, we'll just be in the
And will this be able to be used,
Conference room.
well, we'll be in the conference, that's
Right,
right. Oh,
executive
they do
session.
parent-teacher in here? Okay.
So we
I
need
can't
2
remember, it's been
days
too
that
long.
week,
Okay.
or
Well, it's
just
like,
one?
I mean, when we,
I don't know, she didn't say, she said to give her at least 2 to
Well,
3 days, so let's do
So we can
8th
try
and 9th.
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday being the preference date, because 8th is parent-teacher, right? Okay.
So
Okay.
we won't interfere with her.
Okay, I'll put, first request is March 9th, and the second request is March 8th for round 2.
Sometimes don't you have meetings in that conference room?
Oh,
That's what I thought, like
okay,
confidential meetings, that's what I thought.
okay.
Not a very confidential setting, because there's, it's kind of loud.
Yeah.
Parent, social security.
Would you like, okay, so we're all okay with, we probably need to make a motion to schedule this special meeting for the purpose of superintendent application review on Wednesday, February 24th at 6 PM in the middle school library.
I'll second that.
Okay.
sorry, did you make a motion?
I did.
February 24th, 6 PM.
Roll call, please.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Scott Cadenhead.
Yes.
And Nicole Glazer.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
And Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Those other dates will be determined. Okay. Item 23, proposed executive session to discuss the employment of those certified and/or non-certified personnel listed in Agenda Item 27 pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statutes, Section 307B1, and to discuss the purchase and appraisal of real property pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statutes, Section 307B3. Item 24, is that a consider and take necessary action to convene? Do we have a...
I make a motion we convene an executive session to discuss items 27 and 28.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Nicole Glazer.
Yes.
Scott Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Oh, no, that's right. I'm off. It was last week.
I was supposed to be last week.
Oh, Todd, we're on? Okay. Okay. It is, okay, item 25, consider and take necessary action acknowledging the return of the board to open session. I have a motion to return.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Nikki Upton,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Any co-pleasure? Jeff Hazelwood.
Yes.
Kate Leahy.
Yes. Item 26, Board President's Executive Session Statement. We discussed only the items on agenda item 23. Item 27, consider and take necessary action on superintendent's recommendation to hire the following employees. A, Emily Reese, special education teacher, BLS. B, Sierra Chesser, cafeteria. C, Sarah Allison, school bus monitor.
I move we take the necessary action on the superintendent's recommendation and hire the employees listed.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Kate Leahy.
Yes.
Kate Hill.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Pleasure.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Nikki Upton.
Yes.
Item 28, consider and take necessary action to make Carol O'Daniel an agent with non-binding authority to negotiate for the district's purchase of real property.
I move the district make Carol O'Daniel an agent with non-binding authority to negotiate for the district's purchase of real property.
I'll second that.
Nikki Upton.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Pleasure.
Yes.
Kate Hill.
Yes.
Kate Leahy.
Yes. Item 29, new business.
Not that I'm aware of.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Oh, sorry.
Your last meeting.
Oh, our last meeting.
Aw.
Any business? That's old business. Oh my gosh, really old. But anyway, thank you all for coming to the meeting. Thank you. I won't be gone forever. You'll just see, I'll sit next to you guys this time. All right.
10 years is a long time.
You get 3 minutes.
Yes, it is. It has been.
3 minutes.
What, 3 minutes? Is all I get to say something?
No.
What?
Nothing.
I love it. Well, anyway, thank you all very much. Motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah,
This is out of order. I think we're all confused here. What property are y'all looking to buy?
well, actually, we're not, I'm sorry, Brent, we're not supposed to answer questions from the audience like that, but, well, we're not on that item anymore either, but it's, yeah, I'm sorry, we're past that item. It's,
I second the motion to adjourn.
roll call, please.
Kate Leahy.
Yes.
Kate Hill.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Pleasure.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Nikki Upton.
Yes.